Hi there. Welcome back to Tarot by Janine. How's everybody doing? I'm doing all right. I just watched an incredible video that I really want to look into with my cards, but I'm going to go through what was said in the video because I think it's incredibly important. And I'll just say it was Cliff High, a recent one by Cliff High. It was called Detonation of the Woo. And he was interviewing with Jay Campbell. He brought incredible information. It's like, wow. Okay, so I'll just say some of the points here, and we're going to look at with the cards. And I'm really summarizing, so you would need to go watch the video. So the CCP has distanced itself from Mr. B. Okay, I thought that was fascinating and a really good observation. And because of that, the plan, that everybody was talking about, even in the last few days, everybody was assuming that in the States, the plan will be to really push this evolution of the illness, we'll call it that. So a convenient, imagined evolution. So they're going to push that hard is what we were thinking. And lockdown. But anyway, he's saying they've taken the temperature of what people will put up with, and the CCP will not be backing Mr. B's team, and they're likely not going to go ahead with that plan to lock everything down again. Okay, and actually what's happening is the mainstream media, if you watch it really closely, according to Cliff High, is about to collapse in on itself. Okay, we're days away. You'll start to see it, he says, when they start talking about news, and they've already started to some degree, but news that happened 2 and 3 days ago, they're starting to recirculate or hash over because they have to stay away from the current news, which is actually full of stories about what's happening to people that have had the, and all kinds of things they don't want to talk about, like great big things happening in the US that are going to reverse and or really get, the narrative of what happened in November changed. And so there's all of these things that the mainstream media cannot talk about, and they've run out of. Their narrative is not working anymore. They're fear-mongering and narrative. So there's all of these things crashing into each other. And then all of a sudden, they're going to start making up stories about things that are being attacked, like Facebook, and your social media platforms are going to shut down because people are going to start piling them. And they've already been inundated with information. So the information share is gone off the charts. And they can't keep up to the repression of it. Okay. So then the next thing you'll see is they're going to shut those platforms down, according to Cliff High. And they're going to shut those down, and that'll lead to the collapse of mainstream media narrative. And that Mr. B, so this was news to me, was not going to go ahead with all over the US. Now they're going to push that, thing that starts with a D, evolution of the illness. Okay. He takes the temperature, as it were. He has, I forget what he calls it, Cliff High. And he looks at the algorithms and words that are circulating, and he takes the temperature of where things are going. And he's been incredibly accurate. So the media will be forced to go on the defensive. It's going to crash itself. We didn't even have to crash the media or take it down. It's going to do it to its own self. It's actually floundering as we speak. Is that a word? Yeah, it's already going there. Okay. And the cover-ups are not working. People are not buying the narrative all over the world. Oh, and then another fascinating thing he brought up, which I thought was incredible. According to him, in Thailand, for instance, and both these people knew people from all over the world, they check in with people from all over the world. They're saying that just for instance, in Thailand, a lot of the doctors are refusing to give the cure to anybody. And people are lining up because they have to have that piece of paper to get their jobs in order and, get into public places and things. And they're giving them the paperwork, but not the thing itself. So now the bad guys are looking at these places and saying, 90% are, cured or have had the cure shot. And turns out maybe 1/3 or less have. So there's that going on. Okay. So people leaving the earth plane that way, if that was the plan by the bad guys, not going to happen in the numbers they wanted it to, or basically it has a potential if you get the wrong one. And there's a lot of wrong ones out there. It has the potential to make you very ill in the future, apparently. Okay. But I believe there's ways to come back from that, by the way. And Cliff even mentioned some ways to come back from that. Anyways, things are going in directions that we never could have imagined. And the world is very quickly, everything's going to get flipped, this whole narrative. And just regular normies are going to realize they've been completely hoodwinked, completely with the whole illness and cure. That part's going to become really evident here. This is likely what August is all about. And then going into September, October, everything's going to have to change. But of course, it's going to take years, you guys. Yes, we're going to win this absolutely for humanity, but it's going to take a really long time to rebuild and restructure because infrastructures all over the world are coming down, you guys. None of this stuff that they've been trying to do for thousands of years is going to stand. It doesn't stand up. Okay, so I want to look around, first of all, what he's saying in particular about the narrative in the U.S. being stepped away from. Is that true? So in the coming days, we should see them really not be pushing that narrative. We thought any minute they would be pushing. Okay, so I guess they apparently, according to Cliff High, they've seen that that's not going to work. And they don't want to put a narrative out there that's going to fall flat. Okay, so let's have a look. Is that true? Wow. So an ace right off the bat, right in the middle. It's absolutely true. So they're literally sitting, wondering what to do because they've lost their agenda. Their narrative's going to fall flat. We've got the justice card here. So it's karmic justice. Well, you bet it is. You bet it is. Okay. This is karmically. They've run into that wall we knew they were going to run into. Okay. They're out of chess moves. This bunch is absolute. And you know what? It's going to take down the mainstream media, what we've been waiting for. And it's going to take it down in a way that we didn't expect it to. Okay. Also, what Cliff was saying, and I believe this may be what that tower means, is down the road, there's literally a tidal wave here in North America. And I know in the UK, Germany, lots of places, there's tidal waves of lawsuits going to go through the courts. Okay. They're going to bog up the courts for years, probably, of people that lost their job over something that they shouldn't have and or were forced to give medical information that should have never happened, blah, blah, blah. So even if the courts are corrupt, they're going to have to deal with these things and their corruptness will become really apparent. So those courts will fail and collapse. And so it's going to help collapse, all the systems that are absolutely diseased, frankly, and not functioning very well. So that all of those lawsuits that are coming, there's literally thousands of them, and people are getting on board. One of them in the U.S. is suing for 50, I think it's 50, or is it 500 billion? It's billions of dollars to the government for literally taking away livelihoods, jobs, and everybody can jump on that lawsuit. And then, of course, there's all the lawsuits coming at all the social media platforms. That's going to take all of those platforms down. So if you wondered how the media was coming down, I think Cliff High really lays it out. And it's literally, we're literally on the cusp of it. Okay, so it'll be like he was saying, so the war will be won and we'll see it with our own eyes, but then the cleanup's going to be, the casualties and cleanups are going to be, it's almost like a backwards war thing. This is unbelievable. They're so lost here, the B team. Okay. So if any of them actually thought they weren't just playing out a narrative, okay, They're going to figure it out pretty quick. The B team is absolutely at a loss, and none of their stuff. They ran out of chess moves. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be very interesting. People are going to have to really look out for their neighbors and look out for and get ready for doing things in different ways, and absolutely looking around for alternative ways to take care of themselves. But not to say that it won't. All of the hardships are going to be worth it, people. In my humble opinion, I've been through personal hardships, and it always turned out, if I just stayed absolutely trusting in the universe, being kind to others, and not throwing people under or stepping on top of people to get ahead, just absolutely be helpful and loving, the universe will provide. Okay, I trust it. I trust in the universe 100%. It will provide. There's going to be unique and creative things that happen. Okay, so do your best to prepare, but absolutely also trust and be loving. So social media going down, they might take themselves down, he was thinking, because the mainstream media narrative is going to fail. And then the social media platforms are going to be already are becoming overwhelmed with information, okay, that has been pouring out. So all of the information on the cures and what's really happening that's been held up, okay, that's all coming out daily. The information on, the whole psyop that's been going on the last couple of years, just unbelievable amounts of, and they're failing. Those guys aren't going to be able to keep the flood of information, and with the really lame, they're literally paddling in a sinking ship, and you can see it every time you turn on the news. Okay, and I don't turn on the news, but people are telling me, and I can just imagine they're literally going down, and it's actually going to be kind of really fun to watch, frankly. But let's see if the main or the social media platforms take themselves down, because they won't be able to clear out and or fact check fast enough the information coming. People are just making new videos and putting them up, nobody's going to care anymore. If it gets taken down, they'll just put another one up. And this is going to crash these sites, or they're actually going to crash themselves, is what Cliff said. So let's have a look at that, see if that's going to be the case. So we've got another ace there. Yeah, just to try to save their necks. Okay, they will. They'll blame it on some other country hacked them, or some kind of hack, or internet outages, or they're going to try to blame it on. Think they're going to just make up lies, you guys. They're going to make up lies and find ways. The whole social media platforms, we're going to have to invent all new ways, and to do that, we're going to have to invent our own social media platforms. I mean, it's already started to some degree. It's already starting. But yeah, these guys are absolutely at their literally wits' end here. And a big portion of them, by the way, so some of the companies have already been infiltrated with what I call the white hats and or the alliance. And I feel like a lot of this is happening from within. So I think they're being sabotaged at the very same time as just the use of them being sort of from their end, they would consider it being abused. Okay, but actually they're abusing the users. It's the other way around, but they would not see it that way. Okay, but I also get from the inside, they're being sabotaged. So they're getting it on both sides, and they're just going to implode in the middle. Okay, so the social media sites are going to be in really big trouble. So that's true. One more thing I want to look at right at the end, he was talking about how him and this other fellow that he was chatting with, they were talking about how airlines are already in obvious trouble. Okay. And it will become a privilege to even get on an airplane because there won't be the pilots. There won't be with all the passings over apparently of pilots who'd got the, you know what, and then they got to train new pilots, and yeah, just these kind of industries are going to be in really, really big. They're already in really shaky ground. They're already on really shaky ground. So I want to look at, is that the case? Like, what kind of shape are the airlines in, and how much longer can we, is it going to take for them to get healthy again? Because he was saying it could take years. And another thing that him and this fellow were talking about, I mean, think about staff. Okay. So many people have stepped away from just everyday worky jobs and gone on the system or systems in their countries. Okay. That today, for instance, I went to a local restaurant that's always really busy on a Sunday for sure. Okay. But they were so overwhelmed and it wasn't even nearly as busy as it usually is. And I figured it out. Usually they're a really well-oiled machine, but they were down about 3 staff at least, and 3 staffs makes a big difference in this restaurant. And I'm hearing that all over the place in North America, and it's probably happening in Europe all over. Let me know in the comments if it's happening in your area. But those kind of jobs people are desperate for, and they're desperate to have workers in these kind of areas. So if you did walk away from a job because they demanded something that you weren't willing to do, or demanded your health information, or demanded that you get, guess what? There's tons of people looking for help. Okay. So just in the meantime, while we sort all of this out, if you want something to do and want to make a little extra cash, it's a great experience. Go work in a restaurant, go do some service industry job. I mean, they're desperate for people, like help out those little guys that started out a restaurant and they need some help right now. Go check it out, right? It could be a great adventure. We're going to have to learn to think outside the box in these times. But let's have a look at the airlines here. Okay, this is interesting. I'm going to say that the airlines, there's something in place already for the airlines that's going to be, I feel like the good guys are going to finance a whole new group of airlines that could be really independent of any kind of deep state influence. Okay, some independent, they're going to revamp. Even over the next 8 months, you'll probably start to see them popping up. Really new and individualized airlines that feel like they're absolutely not affiliated with the airlines that of the past. So yes, I think the airlines of the past are dying a painful death right now, but I feel like there's a whole new group of airlines coming up right underneath them, just like there's a whole new money system coming up right underneath the money system that looks like it's absolutely already crashed as far as, but just quietly, a lot of banks have actually literally crashed. And then it's been swept under the carpet and they were quietly bought up by somebody else. I feel like this is going to be less of a problem than what Cliff and his friend there were saying on that video. So I'm going to have to, I'll step away from it on that. According to the cards, there's things in place already to replace those airlines. And there's going to be a whole crop of very individual, maybe smaller groups of airlines that are going to take over and take up the slack. So I think we'll still be flying. Thank you so much for watching my video. And do like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already.